I'd like to continue our discussion about what's going to happen during this next legislative session. Big issues are up on the table, bill files coming. Let's start with you, Lisa. What are you going to see happening, and what are the big issues?
Well, one of the issues I think is going to be really interesting is Utah Transit Authority. What happens there? There's a task force that's been meeting all summer, and they tried to get a recommendation on whether to make UTA part of state government, in effect, basically put it under UDOT, or whether there was some kind of hybrid structure that could be put in place so the state would have more control over UTA. Right. And all this centers around sharing state transportation funds with UTA, which now is locally and federally funded only. And because of all the problems and controversy surrounding UTA over the years, I've been told by key lawmakers there's no way they're going to see any of that state money without some level of state control. Okay. But the issue is that no one can quite agree on what that looks like, because if you bring them under state control, you also absorb their $2 billion debt load. And all of the state of Utah only has a $2 billion debt load at this point. So no one really wants to do that. But what do you do? So we'll see what happens there going forward. And there's some other issues that they've tackled too, such as taxing electric vehicles in a special way since they don't pay gas tax. And maybe even bicycles, because we spend transportation dollars on bike lanes. So there'll be some things that I think people will be really interested in when they surface.
Will any of this take the politics out of public transportation, or is that going to be even worse?
Wait, what, the legislature taking the politics out of anything? No.
Maybe not.
No. I think what it'll do is it'll give people a sense that there is more oversight and more control over how that money is spent and what the agency does.
When you've got that special master coming in, it almost seems like there's maybe less urgency to try to get it done immediately. You can kind of take a year or two and do this, but they've been talking about more accountability and more, elected board members, possibly a smaller board. There's different changes they can make to UTA to try to get rid of some of the questionable practices we saw there over the course of years.
That's good. Okay, Ben, what are you seeing?
I think you're not going to see many changes to the .05 DUI law. It sounds like it's here to stay. You may see some minor tweaks dealing with driver license issues for immigrants or concealed weapons holders. The governor has indicated his support for a tiered system of penalties. .05 to .08 is one thing, .08 and above is another. But I don't know if that's going to happen. Those ads that went after lawmakers really offended a lot of lawmakers, and so there may be some reluctance to address that. Other vice legislation, you might see some a little bit on marijuana, medical marijuana, but I don't know if that's enough to stop a ballot initiative, which is definitely coming. And then this tax bill, this massive, huge tax reform bill, kind of on par with what's going on congressionally. You're going to see locally, there's talk of equalization with property taxes for school districts, which is always controversial. There's corporate tax restructuring. And then I know people are going to just love this, taxing, removing the tax exemption that has been there, or just rather not been in place, taxing your streamed media, your Netflix, your Hulu, your Spotify. They're looking at taxing it. Revenues are declining. You need to, make it up for it somewhere else. They believe that they can broaden the base and not have to raise anybody's taxes, but people are still going to view it as a tax on their internet.
Those are big issues, Ben. Okay, go ahead, Robert.
Ben hit all three that I was going to talk about, actually.
The benefit of being on the end.
I think this tax bill is going to suck so much oxygen out of the room. They're going to spend a lot of time trying to get that right. And then you have this lingering question about how does the tax reform on the federal level impact what they're trying to do on the state level? Because as we talked about, there's going to be a state tax increase if this federal tax legislation passes, and they're going to have to try to tinker that and bring it back down. I kind of disagree with Ben a little bit, although he covers the alcohol stuff a lot more than I do, but I think .05 will probably see there'll be a significant effort to change that. And I don't know that the national lobbying has as much impact as the local lobbying, and I don't think the local lobbying is going to come necessarily from the restaurant industry so much as it's going to come from the ski resorts, the tourism industry, and the Olympic bid. I think that if they're looking seriously at trying to make another run at an Olympic bid, I think .05 is going to be a major hindrance on that. And so I think the tiered system that the governor's talking about is definitely going to be on the table. I think there will be some changes to the marijuana law and trying to undercut a little bit the voter initiative. And I think the fact that we've seen 5 voter initiatives makes it likely that we'll see somebody try to change the way we do voter initiatives in this state to try to make it a little bit harder in the future.
More difficult.
Yeah.
Well, these are some serious, serious issues, and I can't wait to see what happens. Thank you for your insights today.
Yeah. Thank you.